Hello everybody, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today's video I will be going over the monster that just came out in the new treasure spawn. Her ability power, how much they both do, is not a bad amount. It does around like 530 or somewhere near there, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to actually 100% calculate, but it does somewhere around there, so it's not bad ability power. If you look at the overall abilities of this monster, it's a very split monster. That's not exactly a good thing if it's a split monster, because that means the abilities don't work well with each other, and if the abilities don't work well with each other, this monster loses value, positioning, and it pretty much tells you how good and not good it is, because if abilities don't work well with each other, it's not exactly the best thing to use, really. But regardless of that, she does have an actual use, regardless of all that other stuff in here. Like, she has, like, it's crazy how split she is. She has an ability that increases ability power, increases the Great Spirit's ability power on top of that. Two abilities that do that. One for star and overall just a Great Spirit. She has one player versus enemy ability, which is pretty much the increased element. And then the rest is like player versus player. Not really player versus player, but more of like guild battle, more than player versus player abilities. It's insane how split she is. Yeah, anyways, the reason I would recommend getting her, if at all you even want her, or both of them, let me rephrase it, besides the art, if you're interested in just the fan art, I'm not even exactly sure if they made this or whoever made this, but if you're interested in the art, besides that, I would say this monster is definitely useful for guild battle, because it casts Piercer to start off with, and Piercer, when you're in the S rank guild, and you're fighting level 40 or higher crystals, I'm not going to say each and every S rank has this, but almost every S rank guild you fight will have Piercer. Seriously, almost every S rank guild you fight will have Piercer. So seriously, having a Piercer monster is very good, and on top of it, it does it for all allies. So you get to go through that barrier. So pretty much with this monster, you're allowed to continue to get that Unison boost from Attack of the Crystal, and you're allowed to continue doing damage, which Barrier Reflect pretty much prevents people from doing. So that is very, very good to have, and having a Piercer monster is definitely highly recommended when you're in S rank. On top of it, it has right here, as you can see where I'm pointing at on my screen, during an element battle, including this skill, both light and dark element weakening effect is increased by 10. That's two elements in one, and light and dark are heavily orientated around the pool of which monsters people use. Time, star, and dark are really the I wouldn't say time's the main used one, but because of like the circle they got going now, thanks to star having two strengths, time, light, dark, time, and star are really the rotation of monsters that people use, seriously, overall the most. And having two of, not just one, but two elements in here that have a 10% more weakening effect is very, very strong. Imagine what you could do with the 10% weakening effect. It weakens, like, when you're weakening them, it does 10% more than what it usually does. And this could be a lot, because think about how much 10% would be of 1,000. 1,000 would be 100. Imagine what 10% would be of 10,000. 10,000 would be 1,000 over 10%. I'm not gonna say it's gonna do a lot of score, but it's definitely going to at least decrease their numbers by an amount that they didn't think would probably happen by surprise. So definitely this weakening effect can come in handy. I'm not gonna say you're gonna win all guild battles with this guaranteed. That's not gonna happen. But definitely guaranteed, I can guarantee that your success rate will be a lot more better off if you were to use this monster during a Unison battle. That's why this is mainly recommended. It's because of the Piercer to go through barriers, and this could help when you're doing Unison battles to increase the overall score of what your monsters will be doing. Unless you're dealing with a full team of stars, then you're pretty much screwed. I'm not gonna lie. But if it's not stars completely, which usually it isn't, sometimes that is the case, but usually, then that's good. As for her other abilities, I'm not gonna really talk about them much, because again, they're useful abilities, right? But there's monsters that could do better because, again, she's really split monster. Her abilities are split, so they're not as good as they could be, is what I'm trying to say. There's other monsters out there that have these abilities and can handle them better than this monster. That's why I'm not going to go over the rest of her abilities, because I can't really recommend her in any other situation or any other thing. Maybe Coliseum, anything that has to do with Unison battles, maybe, because of these two abilities. But overall, I would mainly use this monster for a guild battle, and that's what I would recommend getting this monster for. As for the spawn itself, they will literally have, they only have a monster, but they literally have crappy rates for the SSRs and no rates for the monster whatsoever. Well, I'm gonna say no rates. They have rates, technically speaking, but we all know nobody's gonna get the monster to the gear spawn, especially since SSR rates are slightly lower. It's just not happening. It really is not. And in the medals, they don't offer a lot of medals. You could get to 700 in the jackpot, 400, well, 600 in total to everything else. That's a total of 1,500. Like, if you were to get like all 6 or 5 chests, which yeah, there's 6, that's a total of 1,300 plus 50 to 200 per each spawn. It's a decent amount, I'm gonna say. But I do like how they added a cost 27 or higher SSR gear instead of having a cost 24 or higher SSR gear, because cost 24 or higher SSR gears is kind of bullcrap. It really is. Now that they have 36 out, it's retarded. It would make no sense to have that anymore. In the medal exchange though, on the flip side, they do have a very selective amount of stuff you could actually get through here, so that is very good. As for the new armors, I can't really say if they're new or not, but as for these armors, I definitely would not recommend going for these. They have reflection abilities out there. I'd recommend going for the reflections. The reflections pretty much reduce physical and magical damage all in one skill. They pretty much do what these do, except instead of just magic or physical, they do both in one skill. So I definitely do not recommend going for those. They do have a couple armors out like that out right now, so keep that in mind. The star stuff, 34 cost at a ultra rare. The weapons, the star weapons, are 33 cost at ultra rare, so keep that in mind. If you don't have an ability for your mage to replace the attack, I definitely go for any ability that has, well, any weapon ability that you can grab to replace that attack, because that attack isn't going to do jack squat. That attack is literally in your way. So keep that in mind. And then the jewel star stuff. This jewel star stuff at the very bottom would be good for Coliseum and private duel rooms, because each time a round restarts, these defensive opening skills, or these opening skills, let me perhaps say, any opening skill, to be fairly honest, will restart each and every round, so that is very good to have. And then these I can't say the name, the Haiduki. I know I said it really wrong, but anyways, these do what the regular testaments do, plus increase the ability power of the Tower of Judgment moves. So if you need something to increase the ability power of Tower of Judgment moves plus what a regular testament does, these Haiduki lances can do the job. At ultra rare, they are 33 costs, so that is very good as well. So they do have a very selection of stuff throughout the treasure spawn you could grab. Would I do the spawn? As for myself, yes, I would do the spawn. But for myself, I wouldn't say this is recommended for everybody, but for myself, I would only do the spawn for the jewel star stuff, so that way I am set for dual robes and coliseums. Having these reflects and these health regen skills would help me so much, possibly. It's insane. So that's the only reason I would ever do this treasure spawn in the first place. I wouldn't really worry about anything else. Maybe I would maybe if I had enough, go for another Aquarius scroll, so that way I can awaken my Aquarius even more, or perhaps give one to my mage class instead. But that's literally the only reason I would even think of doing the spawn. Other than that, I wouldn't care for the spawn at all. With that being said, I hope this helped out, and I will see you in the next video. This is the AzureWrath. I'm out. Peace.